Welcome to the School of Architecture and Design laser training session. In our school, we offer the opportunity to learn how to safely operate laser cutting machines. This is so you can use them without technical supervision at a time that suits you. We've created this system because we as a school recognise that design is not something that necessarily starts at 9 and finishes at 5. The design process ebbs and flows throughout all days of the semester. We also believe that model making is an important part of the design process and not something that should only be done at the end of semester for final assessment. Laser cutting machines capitalise on computer-aided design and allow you to quickly and easily make simple card models that are integral to the design process and part of your weekly submissions. This is why we've devoted great time and effort to a system that aims to facilitate the safe use of these potentially hazardous machines. Today I'm going to explain in a simple way how these machines work. This will help you solve simple problems when cutting and etching. I'm also going to highlight and alert you to the hazards and dangers of these machines. Hazards that may have a potentially devastating effect if not managed properly. But the intent of this training is to outline the safe operating instructions of these machines. In parallel, I'll be highlighting what a wonderful opportunity that exists in having direct access to these machines and what we must do to keep them safe, open and accessible. Like any machine, you'll need to read and understand the safe work instruction before using it. So, in simple terms, laser is concentrated, excited light. In the bottom of these machines, there is a metal cylinder filled with gas. Light is created inside the machine and it bounces back and forth inside the tube, getting more excited. It then comes out of the end through a small hole in pulses. The frequency of these pulses is one of the 3 variables or controls that we can adjust on the machine. The other 2 variables are the speed in which the laser head moves around the bed and the power of the laser beam. So speed, frequency and power are the 3 virtual knobs or levers that we can adjust for different materials. The laser beam enters the work chamber at the rear of the machine. It hits a mirror at a 45-degree angle and reflects up to here. It then hits another mirror at 45 degrees, which sends down through a lens before it exits a small hole at the bottom. Up until it hits that lens, all the rays of light are parallel to each other. When these rays hit the lens, they converge into a point and then they diverge out again. So it's really important that the laser beam and the bed are focused in order for the beam to converge towards a small point on the surface of your sheet material. If the machine is not focused, you'll get either a really wide burn mark or a cut that doesn't cut all the way through, instead of a nice clean cut. You'll find an array of model making materials that keep most people happy most of the time. However, here are some important rules and guidelines that need to be followed when selecting and using materials. To make things easier for you, we have created a list of approved materials along with relevant print settings that you can refer to. If there is a material that is not on the list, please give us a sample of the material and as much information as you can. This includes a material safety data sheet and a technical data sheet from the material supplier. We'll see if that material is safe to use in the machines, and if it is, then we'll get the correct speed, power and frequency settings and add this to the list. But if it's not up on the list, it doesn't go inside the machine. For example, say you buy an unmarked plastic sheet and you're not sure what kind of plastic it is, and the person in the shop isn't sure of the composition of the material either. In this sort of scenario, don't buy the material. It's not their responsibility, it's your responsibility to ensure that the materials that you buy and put into the machine are on the approved list and are indeed safe to use. If you're not sure, please get in touch with us before using the laser. When buying or sourcing your material, make sure that sheets are perfectly flat. This is important to understand because if your sheet is not perfectly flat and is rocking around on the bed even just a little, then it probably won't cut through where it's not focused and you'll dramatically increase the chance of a fire occurring. So, buy flat sheets and store them flat and you won't have this problem. The only sheets allowed on the machine are virgin rectilinear sheets. This means the material must be new, straight and square. Don't use irregular shaped sheets that have already been used. Another very important point to be aware of is the possibility of damage to the machine when using chlorine-based materials. Chlorine is a pale yellow poisonous gas which is safely extracted from the laser cutter as it gets sucked up in the exhaust. But the chlorine is incredibly corrosive to the machine components that are made from aluminium. Chlorine gas will ruin it in under 5 seconds. For example, if someone were to try to cut a sheet of PVC plastic, the heat from the laser beam would melt the plastic, liberating the C or the chlorine from the PVC plastic sheet. This would instantly ruin the machine. When it comes to operating the lasers in a safe manner, there are a few potential hazards that we need to be aware of. It's very important that you familiarise yourself with these hazards and the relevant safety procedures. The most important rule and safety factor when using the lasers is that while it's cutting, do not leave the laser unattended. This is important to remember because within the chamber you have combustible material, that's your sheet material, which is card, MDF or plastic. Then you've got concentrated beam of energy focused on its surface, and you also have very high airflow. This is an ideal environment for a fire to occur. So this is why, when the machine is running, you never leave it unattended. Ensure that you only buy and use materials that are indicated on the materials list. The next hazard is that the laser head can get stuck in the bed of the machine. If this happens, don't try and fix it yourself. Turn off the machine and let us know. The first action to take in the emergency shutdown procedure is to push the red emergency stop button on the front face of the machine. This stops the laser beam and the laser head from moving around, but it doesn't stop all of the other things that are keeping the fire alight. So the next step is to cut off the compressed air. Locate the blue air valve and rotate the handle by 90 degrees. First, locate the carbon dioxide fire extinguisher and use it. Once the fire is extinguished, we need you to lock up the machine. After an incident, it is important to ensure that no one else used the machine until it's checked and repaired. To do this, we remove the power cord, put it into a clam-style lockout device, and use the padlock to lock it up. After an incident, send us an email and tell us what happened. This is important as we need to know what went wrong and how we can make sure it doesn't happen again. In your email, tell us briefly what you think happened and include your contact details so that we can get in touch with you if we need to. Doing this is a good thing and we encourage it, as it will help us to make the lasers safe for all to use. Once again, we'd like to stress that you must not leave the laser machine unattended, as this is a fire hazard. While the machine is cutting, you need to be sitting or standing by the machine. You can't leave the room or delegate this responsibility to another person. If you are found in violation of this very important rule, we will suspend your laser license. So, just to recap, do not leave the laser unattended while it is cutting, as this is a fire hazard. Ensure that you only buy and use materials that are indicated on the materials list. Do not continue to operate the laser if the head gets stuck in the laser bed. Know what to do if the red warning light flashes. Familiarise yourself with the emergency shutdown procedure. Familiarise yourself with the fire extinguishing procedure. Familiarise yourself with how to lock down the machine. And finally, contact us after any incident or if you wish to report a problem.